Hi, I'm Megan Invick with Americans for Prosperity, North Dakota. Rising property taxes are putting pressure on homeowners across our state. While recent relief is a good start, families need permanent solutions, not temporary fixes. That's why AFP North Dakota is pushing for meaningful, permanent property tax reform, so homeowners can plan for the future without worrying about being taxed out of their own backyards. Learn more about the road to opportunity and our plan for property tax relief at afpnd.org.
This episode is presented by the Blue Rider.
Check out the Blue Rider in downtown Minot for a laid-back vibe and outdoor patio and 16 beers on tap.
They've got live music, trivia nights, and one of the deepest record collections around.
Plus fair prices, friendly faces, late-night favorites like grilled cheese and pizza.
The Blue Rider, serving Minot since 1994.
Good drinks, good music, good people.
The North Dakota oil and natural gas industry works here, and works here, and here, and even works here. By creating 60,000 jobs statewide and generating billions of tax dollars annually to support our infrastructure, flood protection projects, and our schools. North Dakota Oil and Natural Gas, advancing the possibilities.
Learn more at ndpetroleumfoundation.org.
Hey everyone, welcome to Plain Talk. Before we get started, we have Chris here from the Forum for some North Dakota trivia. Chris?
What two notable figures were born in Scranton, North Dakota?
Scranton, North Dakota.
Scranton, North Dakota, population 258.
Warren Christopher. No, what's his name? Is that his name? Warren Christopher, the former Secretary of State?
Yeah,
Warren
okay.
Christopher.
No idea that Warren Christopher was born in Scranton.
Well, now you do.
John Burke? That's complete shot in the dark. I have no idea. No, I don't think John Burke was even born in North Dakota. I don't know. I don't know the other one.
The answer, so Warren Christopher, correct. Former Secretary of State, lifelong statesman. He was Secretary of State under Bill Clinton. The second, Kat Perkins, who was a singer and contestant on The Voice back about 10 years ago, I think.
You know, I should have actually known that one.
Is a Voice contestant from a decade ago really a notable North Dakotan? Come on, Chris.
It's a recognizable name.
Why are we taking shots at Kat Perkins right now? I mean...
I don't know.
Thanks for playing, guys. And remember, all of you out there, if you like learning and are curious about our great state of North Dakota, and you appreciate the work Rob and Chad do, consider a subscription to the Forum. Visit inforum.com/subscribe for our introductory rate of just $2 for 6 months. And now, on to Plain Talk.
You're listening to Plain Talk, the voice of North Dakota politics. I'm your host, Rob Port. If I sound distracted, it's because I've been busy covering this story all morning. I'm joined by my co-host, Chad Oban.
He's right of center, I'm left of center, both sides of the political spectrum.
I think it's cathartic. I think it's a necessary and proper debate. I'm glad we're having it.
And honestly, we have to do better.
Okay, I don't know why I'm getting blamed for this, right? Ladies and gentlemen, it is one of the best days of the year. It's opening day as we're recording this, which, although there's only one game today, the Yankees are playing the Giants out on the West Coast, and I have to watch on Netflix, which is good because I'm already a Netflix subscriber. Although I'm sure as the season rolls on, there'll be some oddball streaming network that I'm obliged to join so I can watch the Yankees, because that seems to be what we're doing. Anyway,
I can't think of a worse opening day game than the Giants and the Yankees.
I mean, I don't mind that it's the Yankees. The Giants is kind of an odd pairing, but whatever.
You know, as you know, I've recently become a fan of Aaron Judge, and my son told me that Aaron Judge and the Yankees are his second favorite team. Well, I told him he's not allowed to say that publicly.
I can't think of a worse opening day game than having to face Skeens.
Yeah, well, there is that.
Pretty good.
I guess I should. Governor Armstrong is here. This has become a Plain Talk tradition where on opening day we come on and we just talk about baseball because it's so exciting. It's so fun. Although I will say that, do you guys agree? Chad kind of came up with a list, and we want to talk about like balls and strike challenges and stuff, which I think is kind of interesting. But do you guys think they gotta make the fan experience better for streaming? Like I need more certainty. I am tired of sometimes when there's like a big game and I have to try to figure out how in the heck, because I'm a total cord cutter too. I don't have cable and stuff, so I am scrambling all the time trying. And I have the MLB season ticket, but it's frustrating because sometimes we get into like key fun matchups and then it's like, oh, it's on this other oddball streaming service, and I'm trying to figure out if I can get a free trial. They gotta fix that. I'm getting tired of it.
It's all easier for me when I was flying back and forth to DC. If you didn't log into your home Hulu account with your home area code, like I'd spend an entire week in DC without having any live TV. And so it got to be a problem. So I'm kind of the other way. I watch whatever baseball game is on. It's a little bit like when I was a kid and you ended up watching the Braves or the Cubs because I just don't have time to, like when the Mets are on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, I get excited because it's just everything else is running so hard. But I just like watching baseball. I don't even care who it is.
You watch baseball like it's 89.
Correct. Or like I'm busy.
Yeah. So he claims. Somebody asked me today, Kelly, why you're a Mets fan. Is it because
I was 10 years old in 1986?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah. If you couldn't fall in love with the New York Mets in 1986, you were doing it wrong. And I didn't even know anything about cocaine then.
Did I see Lenny Dykstra's back in jail again? Speaking of cocaine and the New York Mets.
Wasn't he more meth?
Well, I bet he did a little of both.
I mean,
Kelly.
Keith Hernandez was like the 1983 MVP, and the Cardinals were like, "Yep, nope, we got to send him somewhere else."
I think Lenny Dykstra has a lot of experience with an entire cornucopia of pharmaceuticals. I became a Yankees fan 96. I was 16 and actually had gotten into a snowmobile accident and spent that summer in a hospital bed and watched and I think that was the first year streaming was available. And I watched a ton of Yankees, and I kind of like I'd liked the Yankees before that, and I like the Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. I just kind of fell in love with. But that year, I mean, Derek Jeter, Mattingly had retired the year before. It's Jeter's first year. He's a rookie, and we won the World Series. And then we lost one, and then we won 3 more after that. And I was
so you
hooked
won
ever
3 in a
since.
row. It's been a minute since somebody's three-peated, huh? It's probably time for another one.
Why are you talking about that?
I don't know.
Chad,
One of those things.
Do you think they can do it? Because the core getting a little long in the tooth over there.
The core is getting old. I mean, you're already seeing it a little bit with injuries early on. But, I mean, what they're going to do is they're going to have Blake Snell's not going to start pitching until July. They'll be ready to go in the playoffs. And then, as we all know, once you get in the playoffs, it's a crapshoot. I mean, they should have lost to the Blue Jays 7 times in Game 7.
That's
the beauty of baseball.
Or 12 times in an 18-inning game.
Right. I mean, people who talk about the Dodgers are buying championships didn't pay attention to that World Series because there was a lot of chances to lose.
Let's talk a little bit about the new challenge system for balls and strikes. You guys like it? You hate it? How do you feel?
Let's see how it plays out. I just wonder if Greg Maddux would have been Greg Maddux. Actually, not even Greg Maddux is bad. Everybody talks about Maddux. Glavine would have been the guy.
Glavine was the one.
Nobody ever extended the outside corner better than Tom Glavine. I mean, I think if your answer is like you're talking about the overall experience of baseball, with the way you do pitching changes and everybody's throwing 100 miles an hour and all of that, offense still sells tickets. Like nobody, I mean, I think the way they do the pitching changes and not allowing you to Tony La Russa the last 3 innings of a game. So like the first 6 innings last an hour and a half, the last 3 innings last 2.5 hours. I think having a real strike zone is real, but I think like all other things, it's how does it work in the game? Is it slowing it down? Is it taking away the ebb and the flow? I'm okay with it.
At the end of the day, it needs to be fun. All of this is about fun. It needs to be fun for me to watch, and I think if it contributes to that, then I'm good with it.
See, and I'm interested in the strategy of all of it, right? I mean, you only have the 2. The benches can't tell you how many players are going to be like smacking their head because they think that every pitch is a ball. I think it's going to be very interesting.
But the real relationship is between the manager and the hitter, right? Like that's the relationship.
Well, some pitchers too. Like you're going to have some pitchers that are going to want to review some pitches that.
Correct. But I mean, I'm listening to Juan Soto if he says it was a ball. Like, I mean,
Right.
if Juan Soto says it's a ball, I'm listening to Juan Soto,
Well,
right?
like I've been going down our roster thinking, like, if I was Aaron Boone, who would I give the green light to do challenges and who would I not? Aaron Judge. If Aaron Judge wants to challenge a pitch, yeah, he's got a great eye. One of the best hitters in the game.
Problem is, do you waste them all in the first inning? I mean,
you waste
again,
them when
the
they
strat-
matter. Like,
it's all going to even out, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing.
and you don't waste them if you're right?
Right,
It's
right.
two
You get to keep
challenges,
going
but
if
you
you're
get to
right.
keep going if you're right. That's a little, I mean, it depends how fast it is. I mean, but everything, I mean, we talk about technology and everything. I mean, we're doing this way different than we did it when I first started doing this with you guys. As long as they can keep it from not slowing it. I mean, the pitch clock was such a huge, great thing for the game. The not letting the relievers switch out 5 times in an inning, mound visits, throw over. They've speeded the game up. They've got it a little closer to society. If this bogs it back down again, I don't think it's a success.
So I don't think it will. I mean, the stuff that when I've seen it, it's pretty instantaneous.
In spring training, it was pretty brisk.
Yeah.
But you guys remember that the U.S. Dominican call at the end of the semifinals
correct,
when the
right?
ball
Like,
was
that's-
that low?
yeah.
We could have used balls and strikes there.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think. I think that's. I mean, we talk about the human error, right? But don't you think the perfect game where they called the guy safe? Like, we wish we could review that. Like, that's
Yeah.
just such a like. It sucks, and it's all in high, and it's in high def forever, just like us now.
Well, also, like, I think people are like, well, it's part of the game, and blown calls and the asterisk you put by stuff like that, like that should have been a perfect game, but wasn't a perfect game. And you put an asterisk about it, and we're all still talking about it. And maybe we wouldn't be talking about it if they'd been able to reverse the call. But I don't know. I'd rather get the calls right, to
Correct.
be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I just think it's better when we can. Now, one interesting wrinkle is, if the batter's first move has to be to go, like they can't stand there for a minute and scratch themselves or swing the bat a couple times and then think about it and then decide to challenge. It has to be instantaneous. That's going to be interesting because when I was going down the roster, Aaron Judge, I trust to challenge, but somebody like Jazz Chisholm, who is he's such a fun player to watch. He really is, but he is so emotional. He's going to want to challenge calls. He's going to want to challenge 3 calls of an at-bat.
I want to build a DeLorean, go back in time, and have a Red Sox White Sox game, and have AJ Pierzynski catching, and Nomar Garciaparra batting, and figure out how this would ever work. AJ was never wrong. AJ was, I mean, he bitched about everything, and Nomar does 70,000 things before he does a first move. That would have been
Weird thing he would always do with his gloves.
AJ as a catcher and Nomar as a hitter would have been interesting to see how this would have worked.
Yeah. I'm excited though, because I agree with, I mean, the 3 batter minimum, the pitch clock. I don't know. I've talked to so many people who aren't baseball fans who then watched the playoffs when the pitch clock went into effect and like, oh my God, this is so much more fun now than it used to be. It's a game. Those rule changes were game changers.
Yeah, correct.
The World Baseball Classic was fantastic. It was so much fun. I mean, I think that even for people who aren't maybe baseball fans, to see that much energy, Aaron Judge, and I think this might have been going a little too far, but he was like, oh, there's more energy here than at the World Series. I understand the point he was trying to make. I'm not sure I agree
Judge
with that
showed up
statement.
the same way for WBC as he usually does for the World Series. So
All right, I've got some
just
thoughts
walk
on
right,
this.
3-0 pitch. That, by the way, that was a strike.
Yeah, Chad, Kelly,
So-
we're not friends for the rest of the day.
So I was at 2 of the games. I was at Japan, Venezuela, and U.S. Dominican. And I will say, I've never been to a World Series game, but it's the most energy I've ever seen in a stadium. I tell you what, watching the American fans, we sort of sit back and we like to observe the game and sort of cerebral and think of things. And then you have the Dominican fans who are just, it's a party in that place. It was amazing to see.
Well, that was one of the things, like the bat flips, and you had some of like the baseball traditionalists who are like, oh, I don't like that, or boy, if that was, if he did that against Bob Gibson, he would have gotten one in the ear or something like that. And I mean, yeah, that's probably true, but I'm pro fun. The way that those players, like from the Dominican and the way they play the game, or even like the Italians who are, you don't exactly think of Italy as like a big baseball place.
I
but,
mean, 24 of the 25 players were born in the U.S., but still.
Right. All right. I kind of wish we could go back the clock and do a World Baseball Classic and have like the DiMaggio brothers on the Italy team or something like that. I think something like that would be fun. But the energy that they bring, that is so good for the sport. Phil Rizzuto. Basically, like, so many of the Yankees would have been on the Italian team. It would have been hilarious.
But I also love, like every home run was like a walk-off home run. That's how the dugouts handled it. Like, all of them were running onto the field. It reminded me of, like, almost youth baseball. I mean, the enthusiasm. And there's a lot of people on the Dominican team that I hate. I hate Tatis. I hate Machado. But man, they're fun to watch.
There seems to be a theme there.
Yeah, there is.
Padres,
damn it.
Yeah. I will. The only reason I like the Padres is because they traded Juan Soto us for 1 year, and I got to watch him in pinstripes for a year, which was definitely fun. And watching Juan Soto be so happy to play for a team that had a chance at winning the championship, just getting a little reprieve from the Mets, I think was really nice to see that guy happy for once.
Yeah, poor Juan Soto. He goes to sleep on his $10,000 pillow every night to cry.
Yeah.
Poor guy. So I also think the WBC, like, the world is watching baseball. The World Series had incredible ratings. The World Baseball Championship had ratings. I've seen some people online saying it's now more popular than basketball in the country. Not in the country, probably in the world. What do you guys think that, like, it feels like baseball's on its way up again?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. This is probably a hard question for the three of us to answer.
Right.
Like, I go from everything to Evan's Little League game to high school JV games to Legion games to go home and watch whatever baseball game I can catch 5 innings of on TV. So I think baseball's always been there, but I think that goes to what we were talking. And I think Toronto being in it helped. I think having guys like Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Ohtani, and I mean, like, there is an international flavor even outside the WBC to that, and I think that's the one beautiful thing about it is you're starting to see this. I mean, I'm pretty sure Ohtani's huge in Japan, right?
Yeah, people like him too. They seem to like him.
Well, but we're also starting to see the sport grow beyond some of its traditional, like, obviously North America, Asia, Latin America. It's growing. It's starting to grow in places like Italy. Like, you kind of wonder how many baseball fans that Italian team in that run they did, how many Italian fans that brought over. And I guess you said, like Kelly said, we're maybe the wrong guys to talk about this, but I love this sport. I love this game so much, and I'm big into the romance of it. I read all the old baseball books and everything. I'm very much a believer in the romance and the history of baseball, and it makes me so happy when other people discover it, when other people find it and begin to understand, like, the how beautiful, like, a double play is, or watching Aaron Judge throw somebody out at third base from right field, like how fun that is, or somebody like the outfielder bobbles a ball and the runner advances an extra base and scores a run. Like, it's just so fun, and to watch other people discover it from all over the world, and to see talent from all over the world come into baseball and make the sport better. It's a great thing.
What I would say that, like, we could talk about World Series and all of that stuff. I would say the single biggest thing about last World Series, somebody who didn't have a dog in that fight, is how many moments there were in the World Series. Like, how many moments, like how many throws, how many people got out, how many, like, yes, somebody got thrown out running, like, big hits, the stars doing star things, role players doing role things. Like, at the end of the day, there's a lot of game sevens. There's been a lot of game sevens, but you remember Buckner. You remember Mark Grace getting the leadoff hit against Mariano Rivera, right? Like, there are moments that exist. Jack Morris pitching in the 91 World Series, right? Like, it's not just that they were game sevens. If I had one criticism of last year's World Series, it's the 2 games after the huge extra inning game where kind of snoozers, and it wasn't because they were snoozers, it was because of what happened, like, in between them. But there were just so many moments in last year's World Series, and I think that matters. That matters for history.
And it's hard to even remember all the moments from the last World Series because there are so many between the 18-inning game and the 7th inning. I mean,
You got Bichette playing.
Will Smith hit the winning home run and nobody talks about it, right? The Pages throw, the Tommy Edman throwing the guy out at third. Like, there's so many different plays.
Bichette playing hurt. Like,
Right.
there were cool stories.
One of the really cool things, I guess, kind of coming from a media perspective, is Major League Baseball, and they kind of did it in the context of like John Boy, who is somebody like he focuses on the Yankees, but the lip reading guy, he kind of grows to fame with the Houston Astros cheating scandal. He was one of the first ones to kind of point out banging on the trash can and stuff like that. But Major League Baseball made a decision to kind of ease up on their rights and to make it easier to clip video and audio and images and stuff from Major League Baseball and share it on social media. And it's really kind of amazing because Major League Baseball was one of the first leaders in streaming sports on the internet. I think they were like the first league, the first of the big American or the big, professional that we know in the American market. They were really the first ones to do it. And now, I mean, in a lot of ways, they've been leading the charge on social media. John Boy specifically, is kind of a content creator and new media guy, was talking about like,
I have no idea who this human is.
Okay,
really?
I have sent you clips. He's great. He's absolutely great, and it just does great. Remember, I sent you that clip where it was Anthony Rizzo talking about how he was going to move up in the batter's box to hit a breaking ball. Yeah, he's that guy. I mean, he mixes like being really, really funny with also like really insightful baseball analysis. It's great. But because people like him have so much more access to the source material and they're not fighting Major League Baseball who's coming down and trying to sue them out of existence, I think it's made the sport so much more accessible to young fans, especially who, I mean, if they're finding baseball on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, fantastic. Let me ask you guys this question, though. We're talking about how great the World Baseball Classic is. What do you think about the idea of moving it to the middle of the season?
No. I mean, it would be great, but I like it when it is. I thought it gets everybody fired up for the season. You know who else? By the way, the minute that happens, people are going to take time off. They're going to rest injuries. They're going to do, I mean, maybe that's good. You get other people to come up and showcase. But I think I'll just use Chad as an example. Are the Dodgers. If Ohtani's got any lingering injury and he's got 5 days off and the Dodgers are trying to three-peat, you think they're letting him play? Like, so you think they're letting him go?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. People have said the opposite as well. I mean, are you going to have pitchers who can throw 7 innings instead of the limited 2 or 3 innings that they were throwing? But I agree with you.
Pitchers don't throw 7 innings anymore anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I think it would, in the middle of the season, I agree with you. People want a break. They're going to take advantage of that break because ultimately they're getting paid tens of millions of dollars to win a World Series, not to win a World Baseball Championship. So I think it's going to be interesting how they handle the Olympics in 2028 because that's going to be in the middle of the season. Do they just let minor leaguers go? But I kind of like the timing of it now because I don't know how many people have texted or emailed me that said the World Baseball Classics, they're more jacked for opening day. Because of that. Like, people got a taste of it.
My kid's watching every game because he knows practice starts the next week. Like, it was the perfect. Winter is ending. I mean, from places like us, I don't know how you could have done it better. Like, I'm sure we all have critiques, but I mean, like, I don't know how they could have pulled it off better. Being in Miami and having Venezuela and play the U.S., I know we're not trying to talk politics, but you couldn't have scripted it better if you tried.
I do like the idea. I've never been that big of a, I mean, I kind of like the All-Star game. I feel like something like the World Baseball Classic would be a lot more fun if we kind of lengthen the break. Maybe we shorten the season a little bit to fit it in. But I don't know. It's hard to mess with that. I mean, what they have now is working. Maybe don't break it.
Well, especially when it's working now better than it's ever had before. So you've got to this point. So now you're going to mess with it when you've led up to this point. I think leave it alone for a while.
I think that's a good point. Well, we've been talking about how it's in a really good spot. I think the popularity is very high. They're doing really well, but there's a potential lockout looming. I know some of the owners want a salary cap. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? Are we going to get a lockout? Are we going to get a salary cap? How's this going to go?
I would tell you.
By the way, talking about 3 wrong people to talk about salary caps, the 3 of the biggest teams in the sport. But yeah.
I would be okay with a cap if there's also a floor. Like I think there are too many teams that if none of them are. I mean, they might. You only. I mean, the adage is right. You really only make money on most of those teams when you sell them, but at the same time, you got. I mean, I think what our three teams do might be considered a little ridiculous. Although I'm proof positive that you don't win necessarily when you do it. But I also think you can go. I mean, whether it's the Royals or the Twins or Oakland. I mean, we'll see what happens with them. But I mean, I think that's worse for the game than the Dodgers.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I'm all for a salary cap as long as there's a floor on things to make teams spend some money. I'm also confident if there's a salary cap that the Dodgers are going to be just fine because they invest so much money in their operations, right? I mean, I think that's the one thing that the Dodgers do well, regardless of paying players a bunch of money. Their scouting departments, all that kind of thing. But there can't be a salary cap without a salary floor. I hope that the players, I'm a union guy, I hope the players are open to doing the right thing. It's we often joke it's who you cheering on, the millionaires or billionaires. Baseball's at a great place. Let's not mess it up over a few $1,000,000.
Yeah.
I just hope we can't lose out on baseball next spring.
Everybody's making a lot of money. One of the things I hope the unions get, and I say this as somebody, I mean, we used to be a host family for players who would come back, the Minot Mallards way back in the day. We'd see, and I'd hear stories of like what it's like for some of these guys to live in the minors. Of course, I mean, they've made movies about it, right? Bull Durham and things like that. I would like to see the sport invest more in its minor leaguers, and support them a little bit better as well. I think they could do a better job. I think the Yankees do pretty well. I think maybe some other teams don't do as well. I think definitely a salary floor. I'm more skeptical of a salary cap. If we can get a salary floor only by getting a salary cap, I guess that'd be a compromise I'd vote for. But I don't think the problem is the problem is not that these teams are investing too much in the sport. I think the problem is that some of the teams are not investing enough. And then the other thing I'd really like to see both owners and players think about is the cost to the fans. Like, how accessible is the sport? How easy is it to go? I think compared to a lot of other sports, going to a ball game's relatively cheap, but there's some things they could do, especially like I was complaining about streaming at the beginning, but that is a big one. Make it easier for me to watch. The easier you make it for me to follow the team that I love and to follow the sport that I love, the more likely I am to do it.
Yeah, I would take a different side of the accessible part. And I think one of the things about baseball that is so great, like you can go watch a good West Region high school baseball game, and it is like legitimately good baseball. We have some of the best baseball parks in the country right in North Dakota, like really, truly phenomenal sports or phenomenal fields, but also like it's just different. Like a good baseball game is always a good baseball game. Like it's football and basketball. And I mean, the talent level of obviously of Major League is so much far ahead of minor league, of college, of everything else. But it's also like a 3-2 baseball game that has two good pitchers on the mound and two teams that can play defense is fun to watch. It doesn't matter what level it is. And I would say that there is more baseball to watch in North Dakota at any given time, at any point. And if you want to be a baseball fan, you got to try hard not to find a baseball game.
So shout out, by the way, to the Hot Tots in Minot. Always a good time.
So I will say I think it was last spring, Evan and I, every time we drove by the Memorial Ballpark in Bismarck, if there was a game going on and we had time, we just go sit there for 30 minutes. We watch JV games. We watched Class B games. We watched a BSC game. We watched a Mary game. And it was just great. We just go there. And then if there's kids there, he'd go and play catch with them while I just sat back and watched it. But like no admission, just walked in and could watch a game. The only pushback I'd give you on, every baseball game is good. I mean, you did say 3-2 with good pitching. Man, you go to some of those games when the kids can't throw strikes. It's a painful experience.
Oh, for sure. The loneliest place in sports is a pitching mound when you can't throw a strike. But I would also go back. I think the Hot Tots, the Larks, the Badlands Big Sticks, they kind of have the model, right? Because you don't have players that you're invested in year over year. right? I mean, it's a new group of players every year, so you have to make the experience fun. And they all do it differently, but going to a Big Sticks game in Dickinson is a lot of fun. Going to a Larch game in Bismarck is a lot of fun. And uh, I I try and watch the baseball, but I mean, for communities that don't have a lot to do, they make it accessible and they make it a lot of fun, even though you don't know any of the kids, particularly at the beginning of the year, because you're getting a whole new set of kids.
And not to
It's
mention, like, the Larks do like a youth baseball camp where all the kids get to go over and hang out on the field. It's so good for the community, and it is such a great experience. And those Larks games are packed. Everyone is
Yeah.
packed.
They get all the little kids on the field between innings. They do a lot of really fun stuff. And I mean,
I
it's just, and you can only do that with baseball. Like you do a couple of the gimmicks like half court shots in a basketball game or something, but only baseball has the ability to do that stuff.
we go to Hot Tots games, and I sit in the grandstand at Corbett Field where my dad sat, and I look down along the right field foul line to the little dirt lot that's over there, where I used to play with my buddies, throwing a ball around or trying to catch foul balls when they would come over, and maybe harassing the guys in the bullpen that was down the line there a little bit. Yeah, I sit there today and I watch my son down there where I used to sit, play, and it's just it's a beautiful thing. They do a good job. Baseball's a beautiful sport, and we're so lucky to have it. Real quick, predictions for the 2026 season.
I don't want to leave the Larks yet until we get to ask Kelly a very pointed question.
Yeah.
Can Rob and I be on your coaching staff when you're the manager of the Larks?
I don't think I actually get to make those decisions, Chad.
Hmm.
I think this is more of a ceremonial thing. But
This is Kelly's way of telling us we're not qualified.
So, Kelly, we asked Glenn Bosch the same question. We went to the owner before we went to the manager. And
did he say it's up to me?
He basically said, get in line. There's a lot of other people who would like those gigs before you two yahoos.
That is also correct. By the way, if they don't feed me in the dugout, you better be prepared to take it over because I might get tossed to go get a quarter-pound hot dog. I'll give you my hot take quick because I think this is hot take. I think Nolan McLean wins the Rookie of the Year.
I think we're going to see.
He still gets to be a rookie. He was, 5-1 with the 2.06 ERA last time? And I think Mets are going to have a Rookie of the Year pitcher. That's my hot take.
Do they win the division?
Boy, the Phillies are good, too.
Phillies are good.
Phillies kind of have that long in the tooth problem, though, the Dodgers have. So we'll see.
Yeah, but Bryce Harper's got a pretty good chip on his shoulder right now.
He does.
Well,
I'm supposed to hate the Phillies, right? I'm supposed to hate them. I just can't. I like Bryce Harper a lot. I've liked him since he was 20 and he went to Canada and somebody asked him if he was going to have a legal beer. And he looked at the reporter and he goes, that's a clown question.
Question, bro. Yeah.
And then Cliff Lee, when Cliff Lee was for the Phillies, he hit him. And Bryce Harper stole second, stole third, and scored on an infield ground ball. And that's how he cocked off to Cliff Lee. And I'm like, this guy's a dude, man.
Which is the best way to do it. It's the best way to do it. Just show up on the field. Chad, big predictions.
Well, I think the obvious one is there's going to be a three-peat. And I think my biggest...
obvious one.
How many games are they going to win? That's the question.
Oh, yeah. I think they win... Because I don't think they're going to, I think it's in the 105 range. I don't think it's going to be record breaking just because they're going to rest guys for the playoffs. Rob?
I think I'm a little down in the mouth because we're running back the same team last year. And it's frustrating to me because we're the damn Yankees. I don't know why we're not investing.
You're not the same team with Garrett Cole back.
Well, that's
You're
true.
not the same team. You're not the same team. You're a better team.
That is fair. That being said, we're hanging a lot on a 30-something reliever or starting pitcher, even as good as Garrett Cole is, coming off of Tommy John. I mean, it's a lot. We're rolling the dice. I think we could have done more. Anyway, that being said, maybe this doesn't sound because I'm going to be the one not self-serving person. I say watch the Mariners. I think they're going to have a really good year. I think they might win their first pennant, and I say that knowing that if they do it, that means the Yankees didn't win. But I think the Mariners are going to be really, really good this year. That's my prediction.
Can I bring up a surprise team? I think the A's, even though they don't have a hometown at this point, are really, really good.
For them, it's going to depend on their pitching. They got a lot of they got big league hitting, minor league pitching. They need some pitchers to step up.
I think they're going to win some games, though.
I mean, this is a North Dakota podcast centric. Are we any of us going to say anything about the Twins?
The Twins, I think, were eliminated from the playoffs as soon as Pablo Lopez got hurt.
Well, but we did talk about a salary floor, so I feel like we kind of covered the Twins.
We covered them.
Extent.
Twins, start investing in your team a little bit more. Also, I still think the state of North Dakota should buy the Minnesota Twins.
We are not going to buy the Minnesota Twins, at least not for the next 7 years. I can promise you that.
Okay. Well, fair enough. All right, Kelly, thank you so much. It's always a good time.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoy opening day.
Hi, I'm Megan Invick with Americans for Prosperity, North Dakota. Rising property taxes are putting pressure on homeowners across our state. While recent relief is a good start, families need permanent solutions, not temporary fixes. That's why AFP North Dakota is pushing for meaningful, permanent property tax reform, so homeowners can plan for the future without worrying about being taxed out of their own backyards. Learn more about the road to opportunity and our plan for property tax relief at afpnd.org.
Hey, Plain Talk listeners, have something to say? Call or text Plain Talk with your questions, comments, or headlines you want us to cover.
Just dial 701-587-3141. Leave us your message or shoot us a text with your name and location, and you could be featured on an upcoming show.
Hi, my name is Ashley, and I am in Jamestown.
Hey, Rob and Chad. My name is Tony. I live in Grand Forks.
That's 701-587-3141.
Call us, text us, vent, praise.
We want you in the conversation. Thanks for being part of the show.
Now let's get back to today's episode.
Well, it is, Chad, it's officially baseball season again, and it feels so good. I am so excited that tonight, after I make dinner and everything, I'm going to sit down in front of a TV, and I'm going to watch real baseball that actually counts. It's not a spring training game or an exhibition.
Yeah, I tell you what, tomorrow obviously is when the Dodgers open up, and the Dodgers opening day is at the same time as UND playoff hockey, at the same time as March Madness. I mean, my head might explode from all the things going on, but even though there's
this is where I am well served by only paying attention to one sport.
Right. But even with 162 games, I will still be mostly focused on Dodgers opening day. And thanks to the governor for coming on. I love our annual tradition of coming on and just shooting the crap about baseball. Good times.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm looking forward to it. But let's shift to talk a little bit of politics. North Dakota randomly came up during the debate over the SAVE Act. Now, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer stood up and was arguing against the SAVE Act. And let me stipulate it here. I have kind of a nuanced view on this. I think Democrats have really oversold themselves. They've invested themselves too heavily in the idea that voter ID laws are like inherently like racism, Jim Crow stuff. I think that's wrong. I don't think most Americans agree with them. I think there is a reasonable and appropriate way to implement voter ID laws. That being said, I don't support the SAVE Act. I think its motivations suck. It comes from Republicans believing that the election was stolen from Donald Trump in 2020, which it was not. And I think that North Dakotans should decide how North Dakotans vote, not people off in Washington, D.C. I'm a federalist. That's a big part of why I'm a conservative. And I think the state of North Dakota should have primacy over its own laws. Now, that being said, North Dakota did come up, and it was Chuck Schumer, and he was essentially he was giving a speech where he was talking about how he was accusing Republicans of essentially being hypocrites because there's an exemption in the SAVE Act for the state of North Dakota. Now, we brought this up before, but this is what he said. Quote, "Keep in the SAVE Act, there is one blanket exception for the SAVE Act's draconian restrictions, and guess what it is? It's for the state of North Dakota. North Dakota is ruby red, it is overwhelmingly Republican, and it is the only state that right now does not require any form of voter registration, and it gets a free pass from all the rules every other state would have to follow. How convenient. And look, MAGA claims of voter fraud are utter garbage, but according to the ultra-right Heritage Foundation, North Dakota had 12 instances of alleged improper voting. 12 is not a lot, it's tiny, but it was still more than other states that would be forced to impose draconian barriers to vote. North Dakota gets a pass. Again, how convenient. It's almost as if the goal of the SAVE Act has nothing to do with securing elections. Now, one thing to say about that is I went back and I actually looked up those 12 election fraud cases that he was talking about. And Chad, 10 of them weren't even about voting. They were the NDSU football players who I think back in 2012
But yeah, the
got
signature
caught.
gate. Yeah.
Yeah, they got caught forging signatures on petitions, which, yeah, is election fraud, but it's also not really related to voting. The other two were people casting more than one ballot. I think they each cast 2 ballots instead of just one, which can't do that. But both of them happened before North Dakota's existing voter ID law went into place and before we started using electronic poll books. So Senator Schumer gilding the lily a little bit on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chuck Schumer's full of crap. But I enjoyed your interview last week with Michael Howe. Shout out to Jay Bell for stepping in while I was stranded on vacation. But here's sort of my takeaway from this whole Save Act.
That's the best way to get stranded, by the way, is stranded on vacation.
Here's the deal. It wasn't a vacation. Trying to figure out where we were going to sleep in hotels and airports and whatever. My take on this is I'm adamantly opposed to the Save Act, mostly for the state should run their elections. That's just fundamentally what I believe. I don't think North Dakota knows any better than other states how other states should run their elections. If we do nationalize elections, I don't think there should be a carve out for North Dakota. I think that the Fed should force us to have voter registration, and everybody should do the elections the same way. What I didn't hear from Michael Howe during your interview with him is like a full-throated endorsement saying that this is a great idea. It was more so, this doesn't affect us, so don't worry about it. I'd be very interested in how other Secretary of States feel about it around the country who are going to be told by the feds how to run elections. I like the way North Dakota runs elections. I think our elections are fair. I think our elections are secure. I think Michael Howe does an incredible job. I think our auditors do an incredible job. I want the federal government to stay the hell out of our elections and let us do what we need to do.
Yeah, agreed. I don't think this is a problem. And if other states are having problems, well, then they should fix it.
Right.
Figure it out. We don't need the feds to step in. And by the way, one of the features of and one of the reasons why I'm a federalist, and I would argue one of the reasons why our republic was structured this way by the founders, was to keep any one entity from having this sort of sweeping power. I don't want, and I think Donald Trump, whether you like Donald Trump or not, I don't want to consolidate power over elections in Washington, D.C. And the 2020 election demonstrated why. I like the idea that the power over elections is distributed to the 50 states. Not all the states are going to do a good job with it, but it's served us pretty well for a couple of centuries now, 250 years this year.
And if North Dakota doesn't want voter registration, if North Dakota wants to do early vote or vote by mail or all these different things, we should have that ability to do it. I also find the irony of it came out that Trump voted by mail in a special election down in Florida, while at the same time saying all vote by mail is corrupt and whatever. But so it's like, if it's our people who are doing it, it's okay. But if somebody else is doing it, it's clearly corrupt. Everybody's full of crap. And again, the Fed should stay out of our elections. Let us run our elections.
Like 30% of North Dakotans vote in any given election. About almost a third of North Dakotans vote by mail. And that's probably, some of it's convenient. I voted by mail just when I knew that I wasn't going to have a lot of time to get down to the polls. I've requested an absentee ballot and sent it in because in North Dakota, you don't need a reason to vote absentee. You can just do it. And so I've done that at times. It works great. But also we're a very rural state. And in some places, especially, in November, we might have some not so great weather. For some places, I mean, some people have to drive an hour to get to a polling place. If they can vote by mail, let them vote by mail. We've been doing it in North Dakota for generations. It works just fine. Nobody's stolen an election. So you know what? Butt out.
And I would say,
by the way, I will say, I don't like the whole thing. I know there's like the Supreme Court would can they still count ballots that are received after Election Day if they're postmarked by Election Day? North Dakota changed our law. I think we did that in the past. We don't do that anymore. And I'm fine with it. Like if we want to say the deadline is some, it has to be received by Election Day. I think that's an easy fix. You just tell voters, you just got to, if you're going to vote by mail, you need to do it quicker.
And generally it's not that many ballots that actually come in.
It's not a big deal. I hope Democrats don't die on that hill. That's a silly
Rob, I will tell you, I voted by mail. I've done in-person early voting and I voted on Election Day. And all of those were about convenience, whichever was the most convenient for me and what my situation was. We want people to participate in the process. So let's give them the options to participate. Those rural districts that are primarily vote by mail, often they only have one precinct in the whole county. And so if we get away from vote by mail, we're going to have to open up a bunch more precincts, and that means the counties are going to have to spend a bunch more money. What funds county government, Rob?
Property taxes.
Yeah. And so let's be thoughtful here.
Yeah. I think we're doing it like you said. I think Al Jagger did a great job for years overseeing our elections. I think Michael Howe's carried on that tradition pretty well and has brought some new, fresher perspectives and some new technology ideas and stuff in. It's as any branch of government, it's a work in constant progress. But we're doing good in North Dakota. We don't need the federal government. And even understanding that North Dakota is largely exempt. If they get this in, how long are we going to be able to defend that exemption? They're going to force voter registration on us. And listen, if we end up, and I've gone back and forth on voter registration, but if we have voter registration in North Dakota, I want it to be because North Dakotans chose it, not because Congress chose it for us.
Yeah, before we leave the subject, I also have to tell you how much I loved you and Jessica and Michael Howe talking about Leanne Oliver and how great she is of a public servant in running our elections for the state, because I could not agree more. Like, you call up to the Secretary of State's office and you talk to Leanne about any campaign finance, election thing. She helps you out. So thank goodness for state employees, but I just love that she got a shout out from you guys last week.
Well, she deserves one because she's great. Hey, we actually got a listener text about, because we did have the interview with Michael Howe last week. And so a listener, Charlie, responding to this. Now, he was kind of talking about the voter ID thing because we were talking about, birth certificates and stuff like that. He writes, I'm unsure of how a certified copy of my birth certificate would mean much if I showed up at the polls. Frankly, I don't resemble my newborn photo at all. Any thoughts about that? Maybe it is a second verification with a driver's license or a passport. I don't miss an episode. Charlie Volk. And Charlie, I don't think the birth certificate is not something you use at the polling place. The birth certificate, at least in North Dakota, is part of what you would use to get an identification under current law, to get like a real ID or something. So like when I went and got my real ID, I had, among other documents, had to get a certified copy of my birth certificate from the state of Alaska. And at the time, my birth certificate didn't have a photo. It's just a certified document that the folks in Juneau sent me. But you would use that to get a real ID. Now, under the SAVE Act, I know it's some stuff where you have to bring a passport, and it's going to create a lot of problems with people, who change their names. I tend to agree. I think that's Charlie's point, and I tend to agree that it just seems like we're creating a lot of confusion for not a lot of gain in terms of securing the election.
Right. And don't you think that's part of the goal?
Yeah, I think it should. I mean, it's a balance between those two things. We need to make it as easy as possible to vote while also making sure that the elections are secure. And some of it, too, is just about protecting inadvertent things from happening. People get confused about which legislative district they're in all the time.
Right. Well, and not to mention, the people voting twice. I mean, I could see somebody like voting by mail and then forgetting they voted by mail and then but electronic poll books have taken care of that. That won't happen now because we have that system in place. So we have a good system. That I didn't like voter ID when it came out. I still don't love it, but I don't think it's the big albatross that people said it was going to be. That I think we're in a good place right now in North Dakota. And
I just don't think it's unreasonable. They come in, you show your ID, and then they're like, oh, hey, you're not in District 5, you're in District 3. So this is where you need to vote, or this is the ballot you actually need. People can make mistakes like that. I mean, not just making sure they're eligible to vote, but also making sure they're voting in the right elections.
Right.
And I just don't think it's a big deal. Most people have an ID. It's been in place long enough. We've created processes where people who maybe can't afford it can get an ID in order to vote. In North Dakota, we've even done outreach where we've sent the people who issue the licenses out into some of the communities, out into the rural areas, out into our tribal communities to help them get IDs. This is just not a problem. We're doing it the right way.
So, Rob, I would say, we are doing it in North Dakota, right? Those processes are in place. If the federal government tells all states that they have to do that, are all states going to do it in the same way? And we don't know the answer to that. Will there be, in North Dakota, Al Jagger and Michael Howe are making sure that we're going to all communities to help people get IDs. Will there be political shenanigans where maybe we're going to rural, poor areas, that are primarily conservative and making sure they have IDs, but maybe missing some urban areas. Like I don't want
Yeah.
that to be part of the deal as well. So like
Or so some of the stuff too with like automatic voter registration and stuff. I think some of that just goes a bridge too far. If a voter wants to vote, let them do it.
let them
Make
vote.
it easy. Let them easy for it to do it. And if they want to get the information, make it accessible and everything else. I just think some of that stuff, like it's going a little too far on both sides, and just leave it at that.
And don't vote. Hopefully the bill gets voted down, which I believe it will in the Senate.
Speaking of which, I bet you're glad you're not flying right now with the TSA being shut down and everything. What an absolute nightmare. What a national embarrassment. One of the most prosperous countries on the face of the earth, and we look like we can't run anything now. Although I will say I completely understand why we want to shut down. I don't know why other than it's what Donald Trump wants. But I mean, we're basically fighting over whether or not ICE agents have to wear uniforms and take the masks off. I mean, that's the kind of thing we're fighting. And that just seems like a no-brainer. Like, you're going to have a federal official exercising law enforcement power. Yeah, they got to be transparent. They can't wear a mask like a thug, and they got to wear a uniform. I don't think that's unreasonable.
And what the hell are we thinking sending ICE agents to airports and thinking that's somehow going to help the TSA process?
I think it was a threat. I think it was a threat. I think it's Donald Trump's own little goon squad, and he's sending it into TSA. Or I mean, he's doing it because he feels like it's going to pressure Democrats. Like, you don't do this, I'm going to send these people in. I'm going to send the goon squad in to mess some people up, and then maybe you'll break. I think that's the thinking behind it, Chad.
Well, and these TSA agents, I flew last week, and thank God enough of them showed up for work for me to get through security, right? But I mean, it's only going to get worse. I mean, how long can folks go without getting paid? Moving forward, I do think it's interesting the way like cable news works. CNN has a tracker of how long the TSA waits are, and there's some that are really bad, and then there's others like that are 3 minutes. Well, that's shorter than most of the time going through a TSA lines. I think you got problems in Houston, you got problems in New York, but by and large, most of the places are going okay. But man, if you're stuck in one of those places, hearing the horror stories of people being in line for 5 hours to get through TSA at some of these places and missing their flight overseas. I mean, it's, again, to your point, we're the United States of America. Get your crap together. Let's fund this. It sounds like there's some progress, but Trump can't decide what's up or down. Schumer can't decide what's up or down. Let's get it done.
And meanwhile, we're fighting a war in Iran. We don't know what the priorities there, or what we're trying to accomplish, and the economic ramifications are enormous.
$2 billion, is that what Hegseth asked for?
$200 billion.
$200 billion.
Yeah.
And then we don't know how it's going to affect our individual pocketbooks.
No. Well, I think we do. I mean, I think fertilizer prices, I'm talking to some of my friends in the ag communities, fertilizer prices are going to go through the roof. And so when the input prices for farmers goes up, that's not just bad for them. We're going to see more bankruptcies, more farmers driven out of business by that. But really, they're going to pass those costs down the line, and we're going to pay for it in food prices, right? So Americans, on top of everything else, food's going to get more expensive. Energy is getting more expensive. I mean, I think sometimes fuel prices, gas prices get overstated, but they're up. And it ain't cheap. And by the way, diesel's way up. So all those truckers that are bringing the stuff that we're buying in the stores, or bringing in the stuff that gets delivered to our homes that we've bought online, those prices are all going up. It's just bad.
And we have an election about 7 months from now that's going to be determined based on how people are feeling about their individual pocketbooks. I mean, I think if the election were held today, Republicans would be facing an absolute bloodbath in terms of losses in Congress and the United States Senate. And I don't have a lot. If I was Republicans, I mean, I think Kevin Kramer said in a Politico article that I'm glad I'm not on the ballot this time, because that's how people are feeling about things. It would not be a good time to be in the majority party.
It is not. It is not. Let's do a kind of a wild swing. I wrote an interesting story about this. So the story is based on the Grand Forks Herald filed an open records complaint because in the 2024 cycle, right ahead of the primary, or I should say a few months ahead of the primary, Representative Claire Corey, who has since been elected to the state Senate, but then Representative Claire Corey was pulled over, stopped for DUI. She ultimately pleaded guilty. But right after the arrest, myself and also reporters from the Grand Forks Herald were trying to get copies of the video. The Grand Forks Police Department denied us and said it's currently under investigation. You can't have access to it. Senator Clory went on. She won her primary. And I'm not saying that the video being public or not public or whatever was necessarily the deciding factor there, but she went on to win her primary by like 75 votes. And she's now a member of the state Senate, and then she pleaded guilty to the DUI afterwards. And then after she pleaded guilty, then we finally got the video online well after that primary election. Part of the problem is that in other instances, Representative Nico Rios, for instance, I was able to get that video within days of him being stopped, well before he pleaded guilty or anything like that. So what we have is under North Dakota open records laws, those records are only accessible. They don't have to turn over records that are part of an ongoing investigation, but they can. It's kind of at their discretion. Sometimes the cops do it, sometimes the cops don't. And I don't know, Chad, my sort of argument is, I mean, I understand that, like, I don't want to have cops, trying to investigate things when every record they produce is accessible by the public. I don't want that situation. But on the other hand, sometimes these things are pretty important. Like, there's a lot of public interest the public deserves to know, particularly when it relates to a public official. And it seems like there's something we could do to maybe draw some better guidelines than this blanket exception, because I think when a public official gets stopped, we should be able to see something like the video, right? The video's the video. Like, show us the video right away.
Especially, it's putting a lot of power in the hands of these police officers or these police departments to make that determination. Like, if I'm Nico Rios, I'm a little annoyed that my stuff got released, but other things didn't. And, I think the Claire Corey situation being right before an election, I think you pointed out that primary election was dozens of votes, under 100, I believe.
75 votes she won by.
Against
she beat
Dustin McNally.
Who now is in the House. He's been appointed this
in the same district. But if that video comes out, does that swing?
I don't know. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I think the voters should have gotten to see it.
Right.
And again, I guess they'll decide for themselves how they feel about it.
Yeah. And by this point, I mean, it worked out well for Senator Corey, right? I mean, it comes out after the election. The most competitive part of her election was that primary. It's passed, and now by the time she's on the ballot again, it's long gone, right? And it didn't affect her general election campaign either. So I agree with you. I think there needs to be some sort of guidelines on these sort of things, so at least they're done consistently. Otherwise, you also might have a police department who either likes or doesn't like a elected official and making the determination to release stuff or not.
Put their finger on the scale or whatever. Now, and by the way, I want to make it clear, I don't think the Grand Forks Police Department did that, but I think because we don't have a uniform policy, I think there's a gap here that the legislature needs to fill in a little bit.
Well, you could also look at the Nico Rios thing and say they released it maybe because it was so outrageous, because he was abusive, because like maybe it's just a normal arrest where Nico took blame for it.
And I don't want to compare. I mean, Claire Corey behaved appropriately when she was arrested. She did not behave like Nico Rios did. I mean, obviously she was pulled over for DUI and she pleaded guilty to that, and that is what it is. I'm not excusing that, but she didn't behave like Nico Rios did.
Yeah,
to be fair,
which made
Senator
the video
Corey
all the more interesting from a news perspective.
Now, another situation where we had a member of the Bismarck School Board, Eckroth. Why am I forgetting her?
Emily
Eckroth. That's right.
Dr. Emily Eckroth.
Dr. Emily Eckroth, who was pulled. I mean, I think her husband was driving. They were during a traffic stop. She was a passenger, but she became belligerent to the point where the police officer put her in the back of a squad car, because I mean they're on the side of a highway, so I'm sure she was clearly inebriated.
Yeah, it was on I-94.
And so they're on a freeway, so I'm sure just for safety, put her in the back of the squad car so they don't have her running all over the freeway. And while she was back there, on purpose, urinated in the back of the car. Now, the thing about it
what a world, Rob.
Yeah. I got the police report about that right away, but they wouldn't release the video until after she had pleaded guilty. Now, she hung on to her seat on the school board until that video came out. When the video came out, then I think like a recall campaign really kind of started in earnest. And when the video came out, she finally resigned. And I think she resigned because she was trying to spin it She was trying, like, she was kind of attacking me and some of the other media, like, oh, they're lying or they're exaggerating or whatever, kind of playing that usual politician game. And then the video came out and it was just undeniable what she did. And she resigned. And I think that shows it's not about like, oh, we got to get it out to embarrass them or whatever. It's like, but it does have an impact, right? When the voters could see like kind of the unvarnished truth, it changes things. It has an impact. And sometimes we need to allow that to happen. And it can't happen if it's sealed behind it. So I think there's some things we could do to maybe identify certain types, especially too, something like with a police involved shooting where everybody's saying this and that or whatever. Maybe we need to get the video out to inform some of the debates about this right away.
Well,
I don't want to do things that impede our ability to like hold people accountable and get just outcomes in the criminal justice system. But I mean, the thing is, the public's going to debate it or not. So either it's going to be informed or it's not going to be informed. I would rather give the public as much information as possible.
And I think what we saw with the two Minneapolis shootings, the ICE involved shootings, the fact that there's a bunch of video cameras around there did very quickly, other than members of the Trump administration who came out much too quickly and made some inappropriate comments about the two individuals that were shot. It was very clear. I mean, we saw that video, right? I mean, it was hard. We saw it from different angles and whatever. It's helpful in pushing forward the commentary and what exactly took place. So, transparency is good.
Kudos to Corey Wenzel, publisher of the Grand Forks Herald, for filing that open records complaint. And by the way, the Attorney General sided with the Grand Forks Police Department, said that they made the correct legal call. I think that was a correct analysis from Drew Wrigley's office. I'm not saying they're at fault. They don't write the law. The law is what it is now. And what it says now is law enforcement has that. So they didn't break open records laws. My argument is, I think we could write some things into the law, maybe. And I don't know what that looks like, but I think there's some things we could improve it. Hey, quick listener text before we go. John writes, Port, I think you're under a false impression that MAGA politics can be considered a mild disagreement. Kramer and Fedorchak ceding constitutional power to a single person. This is a 5-alarm fire level of danger to our democracy. And I don't know where John feels like I have understated the case against MAGA and Trumpism, John. So I don't know if I led you something to believe that I don't see the risk. I don't know. Although maybe I did get a question from Shelley Lenz about why I would continue to vote for Kevin Kramer. Giving everything else that's going on. And that's really, maybe that's what John's talking about. That gets really complicated and difficult, but,
I know that like when you decided to vote for Kamala Harris and publicly said that never comes up anymore, does it?
No. I mean, listen, I'm going to vote for I'm going to do it as a conservative person. I'm going to do a calculus and vote for the person who's best on the ballot. And I'm doing my best. We only have so many options there. But I mean, if you want to say, do I see the threat of Trumpism and MAGA is to the American Republic? Absolutely. And I've written explicitly, it's a problem. But it's anyway, I think that answers the question. Thank you so much for listening. We got to go because we're over time. Thank you so much for listening. 701-587-3141. Call or text if you want to join the show that way. PlainTalkND.com. That's our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe if you're there. It's a great way to follow the show. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those places. Also on social media, Plain Talk ND. That's us on X, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all the things. Thank you so much for listening and have a wonderful, wonderful baseball season. Go Yankees. I know Chad wants to say good Dodgers. Thanks for listening. We'll talk again. That's it for today on Plain Talk, the voice of North Dakota politics. Plain Talk is a production of Forum Communications Company. Got a question, comment, or suggestion? Leave us a voicemail or send us a text message at 701-587-3141. That's 701-587-3141. If you haven't subscribed to Plain Talk yet, you can find us on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform like Spotify or Apple Podcasts. For those of you who are already hooked, give us a rating or review. And don't forget to share or tell a friend. Special thanks to my co-host Chad Oban, and from myself and everyone at Plain Talk, thanks for listening.
And I didn't even know anything about cocaine then.
The North Dakota oil and natural gas industry works here, and works here, and here, and even works here by creating 60,000 jobs statewide and generating billions of tax dollars annually to support our infrastructure, flood protection projects, and our schools. North Dakota Oil and Natural Gas, advancing the possibilities.
Learn more at ndpetroleumfoundation.org.
Everyone, welcome to Plain Talk. Before we get started, we have Chris here from the Forum for some North Dakota trivia. Chris?
What two notable figures were born in Scranton, North Dakota?
Scranton, North Dakota. Was
Scranton, North Dakota, population 258.
Warren Christopher. No, what's his name? Is that his name? Warren Christopher, the former Secretary of State?
Yeah. Yeah,
Warren
okay.
Christopher.
No idea that Warren Christopher was born in Scranton.
Well, now you do.
John Burke? That's complete shot in the dark. I have no idea. No, I don't think John Burke was even born in North Dakota. I don't know. I don't know the other one.
The answer, so Warren Christopher, correct. Former Secretary of State, lifelong statesman. He was Secretary of State under Bill Clinton. The second, Kat Perkins, who was a singer and contestant on The Voice back about 10 years ago, I think.
You know, I should have actually known that one.
Is a Voice contestant from a decade ago really a notable North Dakotan? Come on, Chris.
It's a recognizable name.
Why are we taking shots at Kat Perkins right now? I mean,
I don't know.
Thanks for playing, guys. And remember, all of you out there, if you like learning and are curious about our great state of North Dakota, and you appreciate the work Rob and Chad do, consider a subscription to the Forum. Visit inforum.com/subscribe for our introductory rate of just $2 for 6 months. And now, on to Plain Talk.